Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the United Stand. Welcome to your early edition of the Tuesday night show. Mark, he's over on That's Football following the Arsenal collapse and not making the top four later. So don't forget, join straight over there after we finished here and enjoy Mark's commentary on Arsenal's demise. Well, let's hope it goes that way anyway, because it will be a sort of a little bit of a funny note to what has been an horrible season for us, obviously. There's plenty to talk about tonight. Ten Hag has started today. He's in. He's cancelled his trip with the Ajax squad. Cut it short. He's in working officially today. Well, we know it's official for us. On paper, it'll be after the Crystal Palace game on Sunday. It does seem like the top three targets are sort of all falling into place. We're going to discuss that as well. Is it enough? Are them players enough? We're talking about youth players already signing contracts. Very interesting there. What's going to be brought through from Ten Hag there? And number twos and more talk about McLaren that Beth is going to get into as well when we get into the show. But guys, most of all, it is about you guys. We're bringing you all the information and we want your input on everything that we get into as well. So get your comments in the comments section and let's get into it. Beth, first of all, though, good day for you. How's everything been and how has Ten Hag Day been so far for you?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been nice, like kind of seeing all the news come out throughout the day, because obviously when we're watching the morning, the afternoon show today on the United Stand and seeing his interview quotes have come out. So they were really interesting to see. And the way he was speaking about Timber compared to the way he spoke about Anthony, I know Mark's already covered it, but I thought it was really telling. Just, when someone speaks in a certain tone or a certain way about something and even though it was simple, the words used surrounding it, to me, it seemed like, Timber is definitely a target from what the news has come out and also the way he spoke about him. Whereas Anthony, when he was saying it would be harder because he don't have a replacement, etc., etc., Ten Hag will already be in the know about them, the situations on them players, obviously, because he's just left Ajax. So I think the way he was speaking, it seems like Timber is definitely a target, which is really exciting because he's someone that we've known about for a while through Ten Hag, through Ajax, and I feel like a lot of us know a lot about him as well. So it's nice to talk about someone that you know a lot about.
Yeah, so we're going to go into, it's been, like Beth said, it's been touched on quite a lot. Mark's covered all angles on the three players. We all know. We're going to just bring them up now because everyone knows who it is. Timber, De Jong, and Nunez. The big talking points of the summer so far. It pretty much is a spine of a team, Beth, and that is, I think, key. If you was going to start in your role as a new manager at a big club, you're finishing early, you want to hit the ground running. It's a key sort of way to sort of like hit the squad, give it a positivity, actually build from there, and actually is a sort of foundation. You've got to look at it, go, yeah, centre back, tick, centre mid, tick, centre forward, tick. We've talked about Nunez before. We'll start with him actually, Beth, because Ten Hag has been talking, like you just said, then about Ronaldo and how he's looking forward to working with Ronaldo. That's a man who doesn't like to miss a game. So do we adapt the formation to fit a Nunez and a Ronaldo? And it's one of them, innit? It's like the budget comes into it, everything comes into it, but a spine of a team is what really we need to be looking at and probably working off. So get that in place, then we can work around that. Would that be enough for you, though, Beth?
It's not enough for what currently the situation that we're in. Like we've said, centre-back, a midfielder and a striker, all positions we need. So they're tick, tick, tick for me. He's noticed that the spine of the team simply isn't good enough. We know that 100% a centre-back, two midfielders, in my opinion, and a striker is needed because Ronaldo is not going to be able to carry the team on his own. If he gets injured next year, we're absolutely screwed realistically, and it's going to be 3 games a week because it's going to be either Europa or Europa Conference, hopefully Europa, and obviously, and we've got loads of different games that we've got to be trying to win. So you definitely need a striker, you definitely need 2 midfielders, you definitely need a centre back, but with them signings that are coming in, the budget is gonna go, and then I don't really see us spending much money on anybody else. So you look at the positions of the wings, you would think that potentially you do need to bring in a right winger because Rashford and Sancho have both been playing off the left. Our right wing again this year has been a problem where we've had to put Elanga there, and personally, to me, I don't see him starting every single game and being the highest quality of what we need next year. He's still got time to develop, and I 100% think he will develop, but we shouldn't be relying on him. I do think we need a right winger. And also, both the fullback positions, I don't think Tellez is good enough. Luke Shaw's been inconsistent. And also with Dallo, I mean, I've seen news reports come out that apparently Ten Hag's really excited to work with Dallo. I've always said I think if Dallo has the right coaching put in place, he could be a better right back than what he is. At the moment, at the place he's at now, I don't see him as top level. I definitely think he's better than Wan-Bissaka, and I definitely think he's got potential. But how long can you keep saying a player's got potential for? So you have to wait and see, but definitely the spine of the team is something we need to look at. And looking at Nunez and Ronaldo, to me, to be honest, Nunez I am excited about because he looks like a very good young prospect. But it's hard to judge these players when they've only just started really coming onto the scene and getting talked about in conversations. And obviously they're in a different league as well. I mean, you look at City and they've just got Haaland. We've seen so much of Haaland that you know what you're getting with Haaland. With Nunez, I've seen bits and he looks good. But sometimes you can get caught in overhyping a player, which I think potentially could happen with Nunez. I think he's ready to take the step up, and I think he definitely get game time at Manchester United. But is he going to be starting week in, week out with Ronaldo up front? I'm not sure. I think you'd have to kind of adjust him in, and he looks very good, like aerial presence, his striking ability, 100%. He's up to it, and he seems like a very good poacher. But the hold up play is something that I've looked at and maybe isn't quite strong enough, which might need some help, especially when you're up against the big, strong centre-backs that are in the Premier League. It's a lot tougher of a game. So hopefully, if we do buy him, he'll have Ronaldo to learn off. I mean, what better striker do you want to learn off than Ronaldo? So I think it would be the perfect fit.
Yeah, in terms of the actual value of Nunez, the reports are that it could be less than what was actually being reported, as low as 60 million euros. So we're talking around the 50 million sort of category here for this player. Would that sort of sway you in thinking, I would go with that rather than worry about the budget and bringing in the players like you just said, then over down the spine? Or would you say 50 million on that type of player? That's probably worth it at that age because you've still got a little bit of sell-on value as well. And if the club is going to be run right, it's not all about Ten Hag. It's about the hierarchy that we've talked about as well. That buying these players we have to look at it in a sort of business sense as well, and more sensible in that approach. And the right age player is key, isn't it? And you can see a sort of common theme here with all these players being links, that they've got plenty of years left in and they can be built into a winning team as such, Beth.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely think Nunez is a player that has got a lot more potential as well. And obviously he's doing really well. Don't take that away from him. What he's doing for Benfica right now is great. And he's really had a breakthrough year, in my opinion, scoring goals in the Champions League as well. I think he's ready to take the next step up. I really do. But obviously it's about adapting to Premier League and the pressure on a player at that young of an age. But then you look at the price tag, and I think it's definitely worth doing, because you look at the price tag that I put on other players right now, young English players, they seem to be ridiculously high. Nunez, if you can get him for 50 to 60 million, I think it is a great investment for the future. He's got a great player to learn from. And what interests me is that he has played off the left. So you could play him and Ronaldo together because he has played off the left before. Whether he can do that in our team, we'll have to be able to see. I don't see why not. But then also Ralph Rangnick was saying that Cristiano doesn't want to be an out-and-out centre-forward next year for Man United, which I found very strange because personally, to me, I don't
actually, Beth, do you reckon that was when we had that sort of changeover for the Spurs game? Because that was the game when that all changed for Ronaldo, the graveyard shift. And it's if probably Ten Hag, like you said, then can convince him to be that Haller type in his system. And it does come down to that conversation between Ten Hag and Ronaldo. They're both saying the right things at the moment. Ronaldo obviously bigging up Ten Hag. Ten Hag today coming out of his quotes as well. And that Spurs game, he sort of did drift off the front and was harder to pick up. And I think he enjoyed it a little bit more. And then from that game, pretty much, Ronaldo's form has been absolutely on point for the rest of the season, really. He's gone to that other level that we know that he's got. So you think it is important that Ten Hag's message comes across clear with Ronaldo, because that system is going to be key on how Ronaldo works in all of this.
Like, I think it's a really good point, actually, that you've just brought up, because if he's still been playing as the out-and-out number 9, he definitely has been, which I think he has to carry on doing because he's been so good at that, and he can't play off the wing now, especially for a full 90 minutes. At the end of the game, for like 10, 20 minutes, potentially, if you're making a certain substitution to get someone on the pitch, that can happen. But when you're looking at his position, he has to play as a number 9. But what happened from that Spurs game, and as in recent weeks, which we've seen, is Bruno's dropped deeper. when Bruno was playing basically as a second striker right on top of Ronaldo,
Had to, yeah.
it wasn't working. It wasn't really, like, Ronaldo was still scoring goals, but since Bruno has dropped deeper, and I'm not saying it's been Bruno that's been providing all the assists, because that hasn't been the case, but since he's allowed Ronaldo to have that space to drop back in and have a bit more freedom and a bit more, he's been able to roam around that front three position a lot better, because that's his space that he's been occupying. I definitely think you've seen a better Ronaldo, and like you've said, he's been able to score a lot more goals and also get involved in the play a lot more as well.
That's it. Is it a concern that there could be a possible power struggle there with Ronaldo and Ten Hag? Because that forward position for Ten Hag, if you watch Ajax, is very strict. He's very strict, and can Ronaldo trust? And that's the thing, and it's that trust factor. Ronaldo has to then trust the rest of that team to get him the ball. Whereas, like you said, then in recent games, and like I picked up after the Spurs game, he's drifted a bit and become more involved in the game. And there's been the Ronaldo of old. It's that link into it together that is going to be key. And who comes in? It's like Darren Mulaney there says, yeah, 3 players might not be enough, Beth, but if you bring in an Eriksen into that and make 4, then it's starting to look a little bit different again, because that's a player who will provide and will give Ronaldo the balls he wants. We've seen that at no end since he's come back into the Premier League with Brentford.
Exactly, you've got the options. I mean, I've seen that Kamara has been in discussions with Aston Villa and I think Atletico Madrid as well. He's a player that I really wouldn't like to see us miss out on, even if he's not 100% ready, which I think he is ready to be part of Manchester United's in and out of the first team. I think he is ready, but even if he isn't, it's a player that I think's got a lot of potential. And you look at getting De Jong in, like you've said, Nunez in, and a centre back, and then you're getting Kamara and Eriksen, 2 other midfielders to have to mix on a free. It's looking like a really good window, and it looks like your midfield's so much stronger than what it has been this year. So there is potential there. Manchester United have just got to be smart about the way they move, and also they need to be in discussion with Ten Hag, which seems like they already are, which is what we want to hear, because the talk's coming out, and I'm sure we'll speak about it a little bit later on about De Jong potentially not being able to. If I feel like if we get De Jong, it's because Manchester United have really pushed and listened to Ten Hag, and Ten Hag's obviously be able to have that pull. So it's really important that they give him what he wants. But in terms of Ronaldo, I feel like from what we've always heard about him, he's never been a problem. He'll always do his best for the team, and I feel like with Ten Hag's coaching coming in, he's going to respect it straight away. And I think Ronaldo can be a really important player under Ten Hag, whether it is the poacher, like you said, in that strict system, whether Ten Hag changes it up a little bit. I think Ronaldo's going to thrive in whatever he does, because he'll already been watching and know what he wants to do with him, and hopefully we'll have the players to provide the assists as well.
That's it. So to finish that area of the pitch in terms of these players and the 3 key players, Nunez, he's going to want to come in and play. Beth, does he even get in? I mean, is Ten Hag going to have room for 2 forward players like that? Depends, because you've got the 10s and you've got plenty of 10s. Imagine you brought Eriksen in. You could have Bruno, Eriksen, or Donny playing the same role. So does Nunez actually, is he needed as such? Or do you look at the fullbacks like you said more there? Would you prefer a fullback or a striker coming in right now? If you knew Ronaldo was staying another season, where would you go?
Well, that's the issue, isn't it? Because if you think about next season, if Ronaldo is injured, yeah, you've got the youth team that you can look down to, but you don't have. I'm assuming Martial's going to go. You don't have anyone else. Cavani's not there, not as if he's really been here this season either. And Rashford, we know can't play the centre forward role, so you've got no one there, and it is a really important. It's going to be a really important role this season. You have got fullbacks there that can do the job. I don't think to the highest quality, and I definitely think it's something we need to invest in, but you can't do everything at once. With Nunez, what I'd be happy to do is get him in now for, like you said, 56 million would be a great price. And not a great price, it's the right price, I think, to get him in for. And you look at the squad depth, the likes of Liverpool and City's front 3, and of course they have the luxury of being able to do that because they've already sorted out the whole team. But you think, does a player have to start in the starting lineup every game? I don't think they do. Nunez starting some games, potentially being a great substitute and learning under Ronaldo for a year, he's still going to get to play plenty of games We've got a lot of games this season, and you never know, he could force his way into the team through the way he's training / the way he comes on the pitch and plays. But I think if you miss out on him this year, he ends up going to a Newcastle or an Arsenal, something like that, and then Ronaldo's going next year, and you're looking in the striker pool, and there's not really much there. You've missed out on a young up-and-coming striker that you could have for the next few years. So it's a decision that Ten Hag and the board are going to have to make together. But I wouldn't be disappointed if we went and got him. I think it'd be a good buy. Obviously, the fullbacks you can look at at a different stage.
I would love Ten Hag to buy a Nunez and not try and turn him into something. He's not in another position. I would love Ten Hag to buy players for that position that they've thrived in, and there's a reason why they're actually on the radar. Why change a player that's doing so good in that position? You bought him for that reason. So I would love Ten Hag to actually go down that road. And like you said, then Ronaldo's gone after next season. That could be the easy transition. And I think that works in that way. And the price, I agree, it's the right price. It's not overpriced. It's about the going rate for a young striker like that. And let's be fair, Benfica have produced some good Premier League players over the years. There's quite a few that have adapted very, very quickly.
Lindelof.
Unfortunately, we've not had the best of them coming from Portugal. But let's not mention our two defenders currently in the team that have come from the Portuguese league. Okay, Telles and Lindelof. Yeah, never mind. Moving on. Xavi has been vocal, does not want De Jong to leave Barcelona, but the powers that be and the trouble that Barcelona are in, is this an opportunity for you, Beth, that United cannot afford to let go? Because Barcelona, we know, are in trouble financially. There's rumours that Neves is on his way to Barcelona. We've seen the tears at the end of his game for Wolves. It looks like he is going. Doesn't look like he's staying in the Premier League. If he does go to Barcelona, I think that is your carpet or your magic carpet, just to fly straight back over to the other side of Europe and come and join Manchester United. Xavi, he is trying to build his own sort of team there, and he is trying to make his own impact. He's struggling. He's dealing with the finances of Barcelona, but we don't care, Bev. I mean, United have to act like a big club. They've done it to us many a times, the Spanish teams. It's about time United started acting and took advantage of this and moved quickly, because we know he's a player that Ten Hag would want. That's a definite. We all know that because we've seen it. Go, get the job done. Would you take that type of midfielder more, Beth, though, if it was maybe the only midfielder that came in this summer? That's the bigger question, though.
Well, see, that is the issue, because you still don't know what Ten Hag is going to do, but we've been speaking about it recently. It looks like he probably will play with a midfield too, and De Jong is 100% going to be one of them. And you think that Bruno and Donny van der Beek are going to be playing a little bit further forward in the system, or is the other eight potentially? Or it's hard to think whether he'd be able to cut. Like, I would 100% want to go and get De Jong, because I think, like we've said on previous shows, he's a player that he doesn't come along all the time that you can go and get one of Barcelona's best assets, in my opinion. He's not lit it up for Barcelona, but he's definitely still a very, very good player. And I think it'd be really important to Ten Hag's system. So if we can get him out of Barcelona through the fact that they simply just need the money, we've got to go and do that. I think it will happen, because we know that 100% it's Ten Hag's top priority, and Manchester United really want to push to get it over the line, to start Ten Hag's project on a good note, to prove that they're going to go out there and help him build this team that he wants to build. I think Xavi coming out saying he's going to try everything he can to keep him at the club, but there is a financial situation. And then reports coming out now, when apparently we're thinking about an offer for 60 million euros, and apparently they want 80 million euros, and Xavi's saying he's untouchable now, I'm not going to let him go. I think that's a bit of a ploy. I think they just want more money for him. I think they definitely will let him go, but they're going to try and squeeze as much money out of us as possible, because they need it. So I see it being one of them where it's a little bit of a hard negotiation for a while, but I do see him coming to us. If he does come to us, there's arguments Cam Hin and Fred work together. I'm not sure, because Fred's been seeing him excel more in a box-to-box role this year. And that's what I see Frankie de Jong as. I see him as a deep-lying playmaker. Fred's a completely different player, but I do think he needs someone next to him, like a little bit more physical, a little bit like the destroyer, Freddie's a little bit of a destroyer, but can he do that role? McTominay, I just don't think he's up to it in that role. So I think you've got to try and look at possibly getting someone else in. I mean, I know we spoke about Kante on last night's show, and I don't think Chelsea will sell to us, and I don't see it being the future, but he'd be the perfect person to put next to him. But you want your younger version of that to grow into the team and be coached by Ten Hag, and we'll just have to see what the plan is with him, because there must be a plan if he's the top target for Ten Hag. There must be a plan in place for him there.
Yeah, it all comes down to, I mean, we spoke about it the other day, it's the type of holding midfielder that Ten Hag wants. It's a possession-based game, and he wants to press high, and he's going to need technical players in there. We could bring back, I said, a Ghana or Donny van der Beek in that central berth as well. Them players there could do another type of job. And again, it's just going to be interesting, Beth, to see exactly how he sets up and how he sort of approaches from the get-go, because I think we'll know very soon how he wants to play. We'll know, and the players are going to know. There's no sort of like Ralph Rangnick coming in. We've seen a little bit against Crystal Palace, and then it disappeared. It's going to be full on. We're going to know straight away how Ten Hag is setting this team out and how he wants this team to play, and that's going to be key. It's going to be very key. I mean, moving back into the defence there, you touched on it at the start of the show, Beth, in terms of how highly and how a manager actually talks about a certain player and how it comes across in that actual interview. He does rate Timber. People are worried a little bit about his size, 5'10", not tall. There has been some very good centre-backs over the years that haven't been 6 foot pluses.
Yeah.
They're not all tall. I mean, Timber, young, again, we said it at the start, that's the type of profile we're sort of looking towards. Would you be happy with that as your, say, only centre-back signing this summer? Do you think we need more again? It's a good start, though, I would say. I mean, I'm happy with that player. What do you reckon, Beth, on that one? Do you feel like we need more?
This to me, which might sound crazy, because I think De Jong obviously is gonna, if we get him, he's gonna be like signing of the summer because of just the way he's proven. And I do think we actually, before I answer that question, I do think we probably might buy another midfielder to go with him, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. But when I look at Timber and the potential of getting Timber, and obviously it's been a rumour for a while, so I have been looking up on him quite a lot and watching a lot of the football that he's been playing. It's a really exciting signing, I think, and I would be happy with it to be the only one. And I threw a tweet out today just to ask that kind of the followers that I know follow me and have a lot of knowledge as well about Timber and him playing in the Dutch league. And I think I said he's great with the ball at his feet. You're gonna, personally for me, you're gonna have to play him at centre back. Whether he comes in straight away, I don't know. His pace would be great. We're gonna be on the front foot. So we're not going to be facing that many aerial duels because we're going to be so high up the pitch under Ten Hag's system. But the only thing that concerned me a little bit was the height and was the aerial weakness. I'm not saying that means I don't want him, because I think he'd be great. I just think you look at the rest of the top four teams, because I went and had a look, and all the teams in the Premier League in the top four, they don't have a centre-back starting every week under 6 foot. That might just be a coincidence where people think Premier League defenders have to be tall. But then Mark brought up the point that Koundé is touted for Chelsea. He's touted to be one of the next Premier League centre-backs that's going to come to the Premier League. And he's only 5'10". There is small centre-backs out there that can get a good leap on them and can avoid that being a weakness of the game if they're next to someone who can take over that aerial responsibility. And if we're playing on the front foot and we're playing a high line, which we will be doing under Ten Hag, the technicality with the ball at his feet, the way he can carry the ball at the pitch, his eye for passing. He's a great passer of the ball as a centre-back, a young centre-back, and his pace, I think, outweigh the aerial weakness that he has. And I think the game is changing a lot now. Like you said, you have got smaller players playing these positions, and I think the game relies a lot more on pace and athleticism now. So I do think whether he comes in straight away, I don't think he would. I think he'd have to adapt a little bit, but I definitely think he's one for the future, and one that is going to get into this team and could be a really good centre back for Man United. With the way that Ten Hag plays, he's definitely Ten Hag's kind of player, and the way that Ten Hag has spoke about him as well today makes it seem like he's definitely a player that we're probably going to be in for, which is exciting, and the price point is good as well.
Yeah, I mean, on that, it's like I'll ask the guys in the comment section as well, and you, Beth. It's like if it came down to it, would you take a Delit or a Timber type of defender? I mean, which one do you think would suit us and would suit the system right now? I mean, we know we're not going to see a full flowing Ten Hag system yet. It needs time, but if a player like Matthias Delit became available, would you take him, or would you think twice about Timber, or would you just go with the likes of Timber? I mean, there is options there for us at the centre back berth. It isn't just about what Ten Hag has done at Ajax. I don't think we can sort of limit ourselves to look at that and expect it to work just as it did in Italy. But there is other options there as well. I mean, on the lit for you, Beth, and is there another centre back there that you would probably look at to go, okay, there's a definite opportunity for us there. We can actually approach that, and that may be a different angle.
Well, you bring up De Ligt. I think De Ligt is a great centre back, and I think I actually really did see the best in him.
He is Ajax moulded as well, so I do understand. Yeah. I just said that, but yeah, it is Ajax moulded, but he has got a little bit more about him that we've seen. It's the unproven one against probably the higher profile, isn't it? I would say there.
Yeah, he's obviously a bigger name, and he's had his move to Juventus, still only 22 himself. And I think he's a great centre-back. I think he's a brilliant centre-back. But I don't see him getting him out of Juventus for, I don't know what fee they'd ask, but I know it'd be a lot higher than what Timbers is right now. And I think with Timber, he has the potential with a lot of top teams interested in, like Ten Hag said. He could be another one we're talking about if we missed out on him and then he ends up going to Bayern Munich, which has been linked. And then that's the next person you're talking about. And it's like, wow, now he's got a massive clause on him. You've got to take risks with certain players. I think De Ligt is definitely more proven. But Timber looks like he's got a lot of potential and looks like he's someone that could grow in the Ten Hag system, and you're getting him at a cheaper price. So in this moment in time, with the structure we're going with and the amount of money we need to spend in summer, I'd go with Timber for that option, because he would be asked to coach, he would be asked to grow to the Premier League, and he's going to be a lot cheaper. But I do think De Ligt is a very, very good player that I would definitely not say no to. And if he was on a cheaper budget, I would go for De Ligt all day long. But it's one of them.
Yeah, two super shots there. Liam coming in there saying straight away, Beth is right. These days, the number of goals from corners plus headers is minimal. That's it. I mean, it's all about controlling the game.
It is a lot more about controlling the game. It's still something that you've got to have the presence in there. But I think you've got that in Varane's height. I mean, he's not been renowned for his aerial presence, but his height is there. Obviously, Lindelof's not an aerial defender, but he's not been that great, but he's done well in certain situations. And Maguire, we bought him for his heading capabilities and his aerial ability, and I don't think you've even seen the best of that really in the way he's played. And he's not got the pace, which I think is a massive factor that is underrated now. You need that pace in the modern game if you're going to play with a high line.
Yeah, you could flip it easily and say some of the greatest headers of the ball, especially in forwards. I mean, look at the amount of headers Aguero scored, not a big player. Scholes himself, Paul Scholes, great number of headers and very important ones. It's about the time and it's about the region of the game. So you would sort of look down that. And that's where this whole scouting system comes in. Does Timber suit the Premier League pace? Yes, Ajax move at a very quick pace, but the quality is not as good. What does Timber do when he's got a Liverpool front line running at him, a City front line, players like Mane and players like the crafty players like Silva at City? You've got to look at that and go, right, is he more adaptable to that? I think he is. I think he's probably a better, bigger game player for us in that situation, Beth, because you have to be nimble, you have to be quick, and you have to deal with the big, lumpy centre forward, like you said. Very rare now. You don't see it that much. You may see it down over at Burnley or somewhere like that. But the forwards now, it's a different type of game, the false nine. And I think that's where a Timber would probably tip it for us, Beth, in that side of it, because you have to be a lot smarter now in terms of how you manage the game. And obviously it's, like I said, there's no hustle and bustle as much anymore. VAR is kicking in. It's not all about being up there and being strong all the time. It's about reading the game and actually seeing what's coming. And I think that's how Ten Hag actually plays his game. It's like he's got Daley Blind next to Timber. Not a tall guy again, but these guys work in the system. I think that's where it's key, isn't it?
Absolutely. And like I've just seen a comment there, which is true. He's played in the Champions League this year and he's done well. And you're going against the elitist of players in that competition. And we've had the likes of Maguire, who was bought for his aerial capability in the team this season, and we've shipped for 5 goals against the top teams. So it's not like you're playing the top teams. You need, like, I completely agree with the point you've just said. I think in them situations, Timber massively has the leg up just purely for his nimbleness, his pace, the way he can direct the ball in them games, the way that he can keep possession. And I think you've seen it also Maguire in games, but fair enough, he's had a poor season, in games against the big, bulky centre forwards, and they've still managed to do well against us. It's not completely stopped them. I think he had a good game against Tottenham, but we still scored 2 goals against us. So it's not the be all and end all 100%. And if we're going to play with a high line, we're not going to have to defend in the long ball as often. We're going to have to be playing from the front and pressing from the front, which I think is what a Timber is going to be used for. And I think he would definitely be a good addition to the Ten Hag system. And like you said, the game is definitely changing. Someone in the comments just said Jota, one of the best headers of the ball for his height, 100%. As long as he's got that leap and he can read the game well, I'm sure he'll be fine.
Exactly that. That's it. It's about looking, learning, and knowing the system that you're playing in. If it works, then you can beat any team, and you have to have confidence in the system that you're playing. And I think that's what Ten Hag gets across, and why he makes a Tadic, a Hala, a Daley Blind mix in with this younger generation of player. And he's built them after losing the good players that he's already produced seasons before. It's a very good trait to have, that you can actually still carry on playing the same way, Beth, even though you've been sort of your team has been stripped of its best, and you would say very, very key areas of the pitch as well. Like we just said then, De Ligt, Donny van der Beek and De Jong. You've got all these players that keep getting taken away, and he still keeps making these players and these teams work. And it's not the players that you would expect to be working in the system. It just goes to show there is a sort of Moneyball sort of element to this. It's not all about the big names. It's not all about the big shiny players that stand out an absolute mile and look like you have to sign because you're that big club. But you got to look at it and go, right, okay, what works in this system best? Does that player who is strict in that role, knows that role, only ever has played that role, is nothing versatile about him? I mean, our back four alone this season, Beth, has switched positions to every single... so you could have both centre-backs have changed. I've seen Varane and Maguire switch sides. I've seen Dalot play on the left. I've seen Dalot play on the right. They're all over the place. I don't want to see that. I want to see a right-back play a right-back, left-back at a left-back, and the 2 centre-backs stay where they are. And then no one else needs to change. It doesn't need this versatility. And I think 5 subs next year will help that. It does have to be with players that want to play a particular role, though, doesn't it? And that's where that strict sort of message from Ten Hag, and I think is why he's come in early to figure out what he's actually going to be up against, and which is big news for us. I think that's why he needs to hit the ground running. And he said it himself. There is an awful lot of work to do, Beth, here. And that goes with the players that he's got right now, which I think is key to all of this. Who is salvageable?
Well, it's like, I was just thinking then, Wan-Bissaka is over 6 foot or 6 foot, and his heading of the ball is really bad. He's not very good at anticipating it. So it's not all about height. It definitely isn't. And I agree with you on the point that we've switched positions so much. And I often think when someone tells me a player can play loads of different positions, or let's put Dalot at left back, let's do this, I'm like, the players always seem to do a very average job, because the best players are specialists in their position, and that's what we need to do. We need a team of specialists in their position. I know we spoke about Nkunku a lot on the show, who is a player that can play different roles. I feel like when you're looking across the front three, it's a little bit of a different story. When you're looking, especially the defensive line, you want players that are gonna be specialists in their position, and I definitely think that's what Ten Hag's going to have to come in and do. and decide what players are good enough to be that for him, because he has rebuilt teams before. He'll have no problem finding a different player who's willing to do that for him in this Manchester United team. He's used to it. He's done it multiple times. But the difference is, in Man United, he's not going to have to do that. He's going to have the opportunity to build a team and keep hold of it if it does very well for him. So it's a very, very important stage to decide whether the players that are going to be part of this project, because I don't think he's going to be bringing anyone in for the sake of it and to only play there for a little bit. I think he's looking for the team for the future, and I think he's looking at who has the ability to stay in there and to do that job for him. And he'll have an eye for the talent already because he's so used to doing it before. So the players are going to have to step up and show him what they can do and which players can step up to the plate. Because like we were saying before, Dalot at the moment isn't good enough. Can he step up and be that right back for Ten Hag? I'm not writing it off. There's a potential there. But can it happen? I'm not sure. He'll have to prove it. There's some players that I think absolutely not. It's some stages in the career. But I think there's a few players there that are fringe players or had not a great season that under Ten Hag's coaching and could potentially take a step up, which is another route that he'll be looking to look at. He'll want to look at players in the current squad as well.
Yeah, I am sort of like on with Dalot. I was worrying signs over the last few weeks. I know he's got bits there to his game, but in trying to be better at defending, he's actually got worse going forward for me, and that's like what his game was all about. I'm just like, he's a worrier, and yeah, I'm all for Ten Hag turning certain players around, but Dalot just is a concern for me, really. He, along with Telles, looks like he's not been able to handle the Premier League pace and just what is needed. But then again, I do understand it has been an awful season. A lot of players have fallen off completely. The pre-season, again, it is so important. It's really important that Ten Hag gets the extra time like he's planning with these players just to see, and then we take it from there, Beth. And it has to be from that Ten Hag makes his decision.
It's about preference as well, because Ten Hag will have preference over his types of players, and I think Telles is one that I agree with you. Like, it's weird because when he was playing for Porto, he was literally like their best player.
Great.
And winning the league, and he was a great left back. But sometimes different leagues, you just can't cut it. And I think he's a player that is suited to the Portuguese league. I don't think he's suited to the Prem. And there is preference that Ten Hag is going to have over the different attributes of different players that other managers might not have agreed with. It's like the board scouted Pau Torres, and we've been looking at Pau Torres for quite a long time. Personally, I've seen quite a lot of Pau Torres now. I've watched Villarreal a lot, whether I wanted to or not in recent times. And I think Pau Torres is a good centre-back. But I personally don't think he's a centre-back we need. And I don't think he's going to come in and wow anyone I don't think he's got the ceiling that we need in this current Ten Hag setup. And suddenly we've seen Ten Hag come in and things might change. Pau Torres was the name that was getting spouted at by a lot of journalists. Today we've seen a lot of Timber come out, and Pau Torres hasn't really been a name that's been mentioned in a couple of days since the meeting anyway. So Ten Hag will have preferences on what players he wants, and obviously Manchester United will have lists in different positions that they've scouted, but Ten Hag's going to like different attributes of different players to fit his system.
That is it as well, though. Who is actually scouting these players right now? Now we've lost our two chief scouts. It's like I haven't heard actually anyone who had been announced in that role yet by the football club. So interesting. Obviously, the biggest bit about the day, touched on it right at the start. It is officially Ten Hag Day, Beth. He's working remotely at the moment, but he's in contact with the clubs. It is true that Ten Hag could actually be at the Palace game on Sunday watching. That is something that I'll be absolutely buzzing to see. It's good that he's done what he's done. He's finished his contract 6 weeks earlier, terminated it with Ajax. Great news. It means he's raring to go, and his words mean a lot. His words run deep. It's like there is a lot to do at Manchester United, and we need to hit the ground running. We've been saying it all along. I mean, getting them players back early is one thing, but how encouraging is it to actually see a manager doing what Ten Hag's done? He's just had an amazing season again. It's not enough. I've no time to have a break. I need to get straight to the job, get working on what is going to be the biggest challenge of his career. And I think he knows it. And he's approached it in that manner, Beth, in a way, in starting early and getting over to England. I think he arrived today in London. So no reason for him to move very far. Stay around, maybe watch a game football down at Selhurst Park on Sunday, get an idea of what you're dealing with. But music to all United fans' ears, really.
It is, and I think it is a little bit of a kick up the arse for the players when it comes to Sunday's game, to be honest with you. Not that they should need it, because they should be desperately wanting to be in the Europa rather than Europa Conference. Europa Conference is an embarrassing competition to be in my opinion, when you're the club of Manchester United. Europa isn't much better, but it is better than the Conference League. So I don't think they should need the extra motive.
Please be the Europa League at least.
Yeah, because I don't think they should need the extra motivation, but I feel like the way that these players have performed this season, they do. And I think Ten Hag coming in now, it's a little bit for the players. Yeah, you've had a little bit of an easy ride. Well, you think you've had an easy ride. You've been not listening to Rangnick clearly. There's been kickoffs behind the scenes. But I'm going to be your permanent manager. And I'm going to be watching you on Sunday. And I'm going to be in and around the club. I'm going to be hearing stuff off Rangnick. I'm going to be putting through who I want for transfers in different positions. I'm going to be eyeing up who I think can be part of this squad. I'm going to be eyeing up who can't. And we've heard that some of the squad members have already sent him a message saying welcome to Manchester United. I think if he's watching at Selhurst Park, which it appears that he is going to be, I think it's him coming in basically being like, obviously, I think he'd do it anyway because he just seems like a really hard-working guy, and he said himself there's a lot to do at Manchester United. But in other fact, it's like, I'm not being in the Europa Conference League next year, guys. You better pull your socks up. I'm watching here, and you better go out and win. And it'll be in the back of the players' minds that they've got to give that 100%. I think when they're playing the game, and I hope this is what they're thinking, it's a must-win game, but also when they're running for each football, when they're making the runs, when they're looking up for the passes, they're going to have, I feel like, that little extra 5 or 10%, knowing that they're going to see a manager that's watching the work rate, watching the positional awareness, watching exactly what they're doing. And a really top coach is doing that as well, who's going to be managing them over the course of the next season and going to be deciding whether they're starting or in the starting lineup. So I think it's really good that he's done it. I think it definitely gives us more an advantage for Sunday's game. And I also think it tells these players, I'm here to work, and I'm here to work now. And I expect my dedication that I've got, I expect the same dedication from you, which they haven't shown, in my opinion, over the last season or even before that.
That's it. I couldn't agree more with what you said there in terms of giving the players a kick up their ass. They were like, right, okay, yes, we're just back off a holiday. One more game to go, and the manager's actually already here. And I'm like, well, when's he starting? It's like, no, he's here. He's watching. He's already here. And they know now that he is going to be all over everything that happens this Sunday. We may get a little bit of a reaction finally. I mean, how many times I've said that in road trips this season? Maybe get a reaction this week. Maybe get a reaction. No. Failed every single week. We've not had nothing. But this would be key. I mean, someone just made a comment there. Said, Adam, what about Rashford? Would you get rid of him now? I mean, we talked just off air before you came on, Beth, regarding another man's link to Manchester United and Steve McLaren possibly coming in as a backroom staff for Ten Hag as well. And what he said about Rashford when this dip in form was really kicking in earlier on this year. And Rashford is key in all of this, I think, in terms of how powerful Ten Hag is. Because if Rashford shows the lack of effort that he has shown over the last few months and just the disinterest in it at all, never mind what he said off the field and what's happened off it, that's not going to go down well anyway. But Rashford, the Manchester lad, everything he's done, and we know how big he is for the club and what he brings to the club. This is going to be the one player, I think, which will show where this power is going to be at Manchester United this summer. Because if he turns up anything like what he has been, that goes against everything that Ten Hag is, and would be a massive decision very early doors in Ten Hag's tenure at Manchester United.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to want 100% effort from everyone and straight away. And even if that fades and players kick up a fuss because they're not getting their own way, which has happened previously, he won't stand for it. You've seen that video, that clip of him on the sidelines at Ajax saying, I can't quite remember the player's name. I was looking yesterday and he was like, you have to run, like absolutely going mental.
How did it go? What did he say?
Kev can do the impressions better than me. But he's telling him absolutely like bolting him on the sidelines. You have to run. And this is a player that did really well for Ajax that season, and he was a good up and coming player. Anyway, he had that clip, and he ended up selling him, and he's done really well for the team he's gone to. I can't quite remember it. People in the comments will know. But he won't sit around and stand for lazy players, and he won't sit around and stand. And it was a winger actually as well. I think that it was. He was like, you've got to get, that's the one. You've got to get back and you've got to defend. And Rashford hasn't done that enough for me. And his body language, despite what people might say about body language, I think body language on the pitch is very telling. And I think he's been a massive shift for Rashford. He used to look like he enjoyed playing for the team, and he used to look like even if he wasn't in the best form, he was going for it 100%. And I've just not particularly seen someone that's desperate to win the spot back in the team. Whereas behind the scenes, we've heard that he wants promised game time. I don't know how much of it's true, but I think Ten Hag's not going to stick around for any part of a negative attitude. Any player that thinks has got arrogance around them about how many minutes of football they should play, and anyone who isn't going to be a team player, which I think Rashford definitely can be and will be, but he's not gonna stick around for the likes of players that don't want to work hard for the team, and hopefully we can see him come back and do that.
Do you think that's key where Ten Hag's backroom staff would come in then to help him with that type of player? You mentioned before what McLaren was saying about Rashford and how he feels like there is still a player in there. I think we all believe there's something still inside him, but I think mentally he needs work more than anything. We know his physical attributes and what he has got, and he's come back from that injury. We've seen the training video. We know what Rashford is all about. I think it's mentally. Do you think someone like McLaren would definitely help in that department? He was key for Sir Alex in terms of keeping the players actually on point for that big treble running in '99. Yeah, he has failed a lot in places that he's gone. But if there is a role that Ten Hag wants McLaren to do, then United have to say, okay, there you go. Give Ten Hag what he wants. And if he feels that McLaren's going to do a job for him, it may be something along them lines of, look, listen to what I'm saying, but also listen to someone who worked as a number 2 for this club before and got the best out of the very best that this club has ever seen. That would be key, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely would be. I think McLaren coming in, people might have opinions on it, but if Ten Hag's got a role for him, then he's got a role for him, and that is his decision, and you've got to let him do that. And do you know what? He knows English football. Is how well he's going to do, we don't know yet, but he does know English football, and he
he does know English football.
Yes, he does. And he could have a role in reviving potentially some players that, I mean, there's some players that have gone past revival, in my opinion, where I just think they're simply not good enough, and the attitude to go with it isn't there. I do think a player like Rashford, despite what a lot of people think, because I usually always get a bit of stick for this, I think there is a capability to revive him, and I think he needs a different set of coaching staff, and he does probably need some belief in him, but also he needs to have a bit of a kick up the arse in the fact, like, yeah, you've not been good. I'm not going to lie to you and sit here and say you have been. You've not been good, but these are the ways we're going to help you to improve your game. And if you follow what I say, you're going to improve. So I think he needs someone above him that they make the decisions. The manager is the manager, and I think that's the relationship that he kind of needs. And he also needs a coaching setup that's going to be harsh, but also going to improve him. And I think if Ten Hag sees McLaren as someone that can help do that, then that's what the fans have to get behind. Noah Lang, that was it. He's gone to Club Brugge. That was a player I was thinking of before. But I do think you've got to trust Ten Hag in the coaches that he's bringing in. And should I read out that quote of McLaren?
Just read out the quote, what he said regarding Rashford earlier on in the season.
Oh, yeah. So this was from 13th of January, published by the MEN. Steve McLaren on Marcus Rashford's form. I just look at him and think, that boy needs help off the field and through the manager. Somebody needs to give him the tools to come out of the bad times. It's a cloud above his head that he can get out of. So McLaren, who Ten Hag is bringing in to this coaching setup, thinks that there is a player in Rashford, but thinks he needs coaching. So that could be an interesting situation that could develop. I definitely think it'll be interesting.
It does look down the lines of like, we can't get rid of everyone. A lot of rumours were there regarding Rashford's future. It does look like he is going to be staying. So we'll have to hope that Ten Hag and his backroom staff, when they do come in, actually do get a hold of Rashford and get into his head and convince him that, you know what, we need to get you. You could literally be, like Wayne Rooney said, the all-time leading goal scorer of Manchester United. The way you started, you had that in the bag. You could have just carried on like that for the rest of your career and been an absolute legend. Why would players like Rooney and people talk the way they talk about Rashford say that? They have to get that into his head. Otherwise, his career is done at Manchester United. The fans will not accept another season like he's had. They know what's coming in Ten Hag. We know what's coming with Ten Hag. If Rashford is not going to produce that, then we know he's being protected by the football club, and the fans are not stupid.
The way that Rooney worded that was 100%, and that's what he needs. And he needs it off someone who, I mean, we could sit here and say all day long, and certain footballers will take that as an opinion that they should listen to. But someone that he looks up to is in Wayne Rooney, and someone who's done there himself, gone and got the t-shirt. They're the players, they're the people that he needs to be listened to when they tell him that sort of like, it's not even harsh. People this day and age think it's harsh, but it's just truthful advice. And you're right. I think this season for Rashford's been a terrible one, and a lot of people already think that potentially his career's done at Manchester United. I actually don't think it is. I think this season, I think he's going to stay. And I think under the coaching of Ten Hag, who's managed to get the best out of players that he has at Ajax, and what he's done with Haller, what he's done with Tadic, what he's done with Anthony, what he's done with these players, I think if he can't get a tune out of Rashford, I think it is make or break. If he continues on the path he is right now, I do think his career is done. But I think he's got to turn it around quickly. And luckily, Ten Hag, who is renowned for coaching players to be very, very good in the position, is coming in now. And I think it is make or break for him next season. I definitely do.
That's it, because there's players always wanting to take that position. There's plenty coming through the youth, obviously, before we finish up. I just wanted to touch on, obviously, Kobe Mainoo making his first professional contract, signing that. That is absolutely brilliant news. We spoke about that outside after the FA Youth Cup final, ref. Likes of him, Garnacho. Obviously, there's plenty coming through our youth academy right now for Ten Hag to dip into as well. And you know that, like we said, with 5 substitutes next season, the competitions that we're in, these players are going to get their chance, like Alanga did, and could be dislodging the likes of Rashford. Ralph Rangnick has already done it. There's nothing to say Ten Hag will not do the same if he's not performing, whether he is one of the so-called darlings of this football club or not. But great news, at least, that we've signed Kobe. He was very impressive and has been impressive all season for Manchester United under 18s and under 23s as well. But that's what we want to see, Beth. Young players signing into a future of a manager like Ten Hag and hoping that they will want to impress for him and then come through. But that is, like, dare I say it, a little bit of a structure coming through, getting these players signed up, and then with the right manager in the big job at the club, there's always that chance.
Yep, definitely. I think he was really good in the game that we watched. Apparently, from people that have seen that, watch the youth team a lot more. Very good centre mid for the youth team. And I think it's important that we're getting these players signed up now. And I think that would have been a very big eye-opener and potentially a little bit of an ego, what do you call it? Ego. It hurt maybe Marcus Rashford's ego when Alanga came in and took his place, because that would have been a tough one to take. You're telling me an under 23s player that was meant to be going out on loan, hasn't even had a kick all season, can take my place.
That to give him the kick up the arse he needed, wouldn't you?
You would have thought that, and I think that should be a lesson for everybody, that you can't get too comfortable, because there is always someone there around the corner waiting to take your place. And if you're not willing to put the work in, or you're not willing to do certain stuff for the team that needs to be done, there's a player that is there waiting to do that. And to be fair as well, credit to John Murtough, because I've seen a lot of him being here, there and everywhere at the youth games in Amsterdam, being with Ten Hag, and he has contributed to the youth system becoming a lot more structured and a lot better with getting players in from overseas and getting talent in when we should be getting them in quickly, and providing them with a system, and providing it with basically just making the youth team a better place for talent to come into. And a better way for a gateway for them to the first team, a higher level of players is what I would say. And I think it's really important that continues. So it's all good that he signed the contract.
Yep, and that's a perfect way to end the show, guys. It's time for you to cross over, like I said at the start of the show, to That's Football. Join Mark there. He's going to be full watch along for Arsenal's demise, like I said earlier on, not beating Newcastle tonight and losing out on the top four, just to finish the season off with some form of I don't know, joy, whatever you want to call it, just something to laugh at the end. I'll smile about. But guys, cheers for watching and tuning in for tonight's show, and all your comments, new members, super chats, absolutely on point tonight. Beth, cheers for coming on as always. Go sit back now, watch Arsenal lose, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Honestly, I'm excited to watch this game. It's sad that this is the point where the season's come to, but I really hope Newcastle can do the job on him, because I do not want to see them getting top four. So hopefully they will get beat tonight.
That's it. Like I said before, guys, thanks for tuning in tonight. Do give the video a like, share, and subscribe to the United Stand, bottom right-hand corner there. We will be back through the week. I think I may be back tomorrow, and obviously build up to the last game of this season. Let's let it end now. But for tonight, that is it. Cheers for watching, everyone. Have a good rest.